And welcome. Just a little bit of an update based on where we left things off last time. Last time was just kind of an overview, and you saw how things were laid out to start with the original batteries as well as with the charge controllers were laid out. And what we've done so far, as you can see here, is that we've gotten rid of the three strings of batteries that used to be here. Now it's just a collection of tools as we're getting things reworked. As the old various interconnecting cables, as well as all the remaining cutoff switches we were using on the battery banks and the charge controllers. And what we've done is we've taken this charge controller off of this wall and consolidated and removed all the unused equipment from the main wall here, moved the two charge controllers together just to help simplify wiring. And as you can see, we've gone through and ran the wiring through conduit where we can versus what we were doing before. Again, not that you really, at least in my opinion, have to run this low voltage battery cable in conduit, but it does look nicer, at least in my opinion, if you do so. And we're keeping the disconnect switches that you saw earlier on this side here. Again, just to have the ability to disconnect the external solar panels from the charge controller themselves. Now, before, the charge controllers had a fuse on one leg, on the positive leg, and a manual battery disconnect switch on the negative leg. And while that worked okay, we've changed things up a little bit. And what you see at the top of that enclosure there, it's just a midnight solar enclosure box, six circuit and controller box, of which we have two 80 amp breakers currently installed, one for each 80 amp charge controller. So the output of the charge controller will come through the box, go up, hit the breakers, come out of those DC breakers, and then back into the main distribution panel you see here and attached to the two bus bars that you now see installed. Also in this enclosure, you'll see the battery shunt, which mounted at the top. That will be for the Batrium battery management system that we will be using in conjunction with the lithium ion phosphate battery bank. As you can see, there is a little bit of wiring that's been done to this point. And what we are using here to go from the charge controller into the enclosure is just some 1-inch watertight flex conduit. And that 1-inch conduit fits quite nicely, as you can see here, two 2-gauge cables. Or what known as the battery cables coming from the charge controller. And you can see our two bus bars located there, as well as our big ABB breaker. And this will be also a new addition into the setup as well. And you can see the wiring here that will be wired in the battery management system, and it's for the shunt trip. So that way the battery management system, if it detects tolerances that go out of a set range, it can hit the it can basically trip this breaker for us and disconnect the batteries from the system. And these are, again, just kind of a close-up on one of the distribution boxes here, I should say cutoff boxes. And this is the output of the PV array from the combiner boxes outside. Just comes into a quick disconnect box. And it's the same type of disconnect box you see generally used with air conditioners and such, where it's just a kind of a bladed handle that you pull out, and it'll disconnect the PV arrays from the charge controller itself. Now, since we use combiner boxes on the exterior where all the panels come in, and those combiner boxes do have DC breakers attached to them that protect the strings, since we have protection there, that's why you don't see necessarily a breaker or a fuse that is in here. In here, it's just a quick disconnect. and a little bit closer view of that midnight solar. It's a 6-position box, as we stated earlier. It'll just be used for 2 double width breakers here. And you'll notice that these breakers, even though it's a single 80, it actually is 2 separate breakers that are joined together into one. And so it makes it a double width. We've got 2 of them, that's 4, so that'll eat up 4 of our 6 slots. We just won't be using all 6 slots. This box will be just strictly dedicated to serving as a protection / disconnect for the output of the charge controllers going back into the battery bank via the bus bars that are inside this enclosure. And that's pretty much it for the update at this point. Just wanted to get a quick one together to kind of show the progress of what has happened so far, all the equipment that you can tell from looking at the 2 pictures of the wall that have been removed. But yet, as you can see, that charge controller there, that one there's still a lot more wiring to be done yet until we're operational again. And with that, I will talk to you later. Bye.